Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone.
Afternoon, everyone. I'm seeing a lot of new names, Alma. I'm so excited to kick kick off our webinar series today.
I know, I know. I hope everyone here is also excited. So, for those who don't know, this is our first free webinar of the year 2024. Alam mo, I even want to check, Gabby. Why don't you let us know in the chat box? Were you a frequent viewer or have you viewed already our webinars from 2023? Let us know. Baka makikita na namin yung mga veterans namin dito sa sa
Yeah.
room. But if not, maybe this is your first time here. O yan, dami regular. First time, let us know also. We'd love to hear. Oh, ang dami.
Si Sheila, yes na lang yung nasagot niya. I think she's a regular in our free webinars.
Yes. There's a lot of first-timers. Irene here is a first-timer. Marie Chris. We have some regulars. Miss Claudette. Hi. Good afternoon. Welcome back.
Yes. Thank you so much for logging in early. So we're just going to wait for a few more to log in before we start. Again, Alma, diba? We still have room here. If you have colleagues, friends, classmates, if we have students, please do share with them the link, the registration link, and tell them that they can still log in.
Tell them we just started. There's
Oh,
plenty of time to still join the room. Remember, 1,000 ang limit natin for the Zoom. But if not, or maybe if Zoom is too hard for any of your team to get into, just know we're currently live streaming sa YouTube then. We have one of our representatives, Joyce, who's thankfully recording the session for us and currently live streaming it to YouTube. So just know you can tune in with us through there as well. So yan, ayan na yung link. You can watch by YouTube here.
alam mo, nakakatuwa. Ang daming first-timer. I mean, there are a lot of regulars who are here this afternoon, but I am also seeing a lot of first-timers here. So maybe we can welcome them, give them that warm PW welcome. So there's Lindell, there's Grace Ann, si Charmaine din. It's first-timer, sila Bernie, Rosel is also a first time grip. How about yours? How's your chat box looking?
I see Jose here, first timer. Kevin, Ari. Wow, ang galing talaga ng marketing. I'm sure, alam mo sabihin natin to sa marketing natin, Gabby. I guess we're doing well this year. That this is also so different from our first webinar of the year ng 2023 na medyo slow start kami. So again, we're really super thankful for the support you guys are giving us early on into the year. Thank you so much. Thank you to everyone here. It's good afternoon once again to everyone.
Yeah, so we have our regulars from DSWD. We also have representatives from NGCP. Good afternoon po. We have Louie. Is that, I'm not sure if that's how you pronounce your name, but she's calling in from Carmona, Cavite.
Hi!
Si Robert. Interesting siguro, Alma, no? Very interesting actually yung topic natin this afternoon. It's kind of the first time we're doing a leadership spin. Kasi we've always promoted positive workplaces on the positivity part. But we forget that we also are diba parang buong pangalan natin is positivity and productivity. Minsan na kakaligtaan natin na there's also that productivity that we are offering.
Yes, sometimes we miss out. We can also talk about possible technical skills that you can apply at your workplace. So I know a lot of us here, especially the regulars, really appreciate our topic centered on well-being. But I'm sure we're gonna have a very exciting session this afternoon that everyone's gonna enjoy. Kasi technical skill siya. Ma-apply nyo to horizontally to your coworkers. Maybe you're leading a team, you can also apply this. Or maybe you wanna better ways to have a good relationship with your boss. The skill that you'll be picking up later, talagang ma-apply nyo talaga to.
Yeah, and actually even in your personal life, 'di ba? Parang if you have relationships that you also want to improve, the skill that you're gonna learn this afternoon is really important.
Ako, Gabi, na-excite na talaga ako.
Ako rin, ang dami. We have Junix from Cebu City. We have Stephanie, a guidance counselor, joining us this afternoon. Alessia asked if they can still get the e-certificate if they join via YouTube. It's like what Joyce said, as much as possible, we encourage you to watch inside the Zoom room because we are going to stop streaming once we flash the evaluation form.
Yes, and yeah, so that's an action step for those who have friends who are not currently in the Zoom room now and they're expecting to want to get a certificate. Tell them there's still room. There's still around 400 or less than 400 slots to enter dito sa Zoom. So it's as easy as registering very quickly, receiving the link, and just joining via the link that's sent to your email. So ayan, there's still time. Tell your friends, tell your colleagues.
Yan. Very exciting. Ang ganda ng mix natin. We have teachers joining in. We have social workers joining in as well. May occupational therapists din tayo in the room. And I bet we also have students in the room.
Ayan. Mag-shoutout na yung mga students dyan.
Represent. Which is really good, Alma, no? Parang as early as now, they also get to learn different skills na sana sa school natin natutunan. Pero like, these are things na natutunan natin while we were working already.
Yes. When I said, students tune in, yung una nag-tune in, Professor. Hello, Professor. Professor
Princess. Hi, Princess.
Hi. Hello. Psychometrician. Well, I love na, without prompts, people are also telling us, their vocations. I think that's also amazing. We always love it when we get people from, a wide range of industries. Kasi gusto namin kahit papano lahat ng industry na naabot namin sa mga, in all the topics that we're trying to teach. So thank you so much for joining us.
Yes, and welcome to the Positive Workplaces community. Okay, I think it's time that we start. It's already 3:02. Again, if you still have colleagues and friends who would benefit hearing from our topic, please do tell them we still have 300 seats left in the room.
We just breached the 700 mark, Gabby. Wow.
All okay, right. Yes, we can start. Again, good afternoon, everyone. We are opening the year with the theme Nurturing New Leaders, the Key to Workplace Transformation. So I'm Gabby Liamson, and I'm the Learning and Development Officer of Positive Workplaces. And together with me is Alma.
Hi guys, my name is Luis Almazar, but feel free to call me Alma. I'm the Wellbeing Services Senior Officer here in Positive Workplaces.
Yes, and can you please give a shout out to Alma and congratulate him for that well-deserved promotion for this year. Congratulations, Alma.
Thanks, Gabby.
Yeah, and so for those of you who are first-timers, we'd love to share with you our mission. So again, we're Positive Workplaces, and our mission is that we co-create cultures that enhance the well-being of the Filipino workforce. And alam namin na it's only been in recent years, di ba, na naging focus natin ng well-being. Nakita natin na positivity is actually a partner of productivity so that we will be able to lead a meaningful work life. So these cultures are actually made through what we call the positivity ripples, and it all starts with leading the self. That's why we're so happy that you're investing time, investing your effort and energy so that you will be able to learn different skills to be a good leader, because that's where it starts, so that we can start influencing others, influencing the culture, and create those positive workplaces.
Ayan. Yeah. So just for some reminders before we start the session. So number 1, have another device to be ready to go to another link, or if not another device, pwede naman po another tab within your browser if you're on your laptop. And another note is prepare your pen and paper for notes. For sure, marami kayong matutunan today, so have that ready on hand. And the next one is we highly encourage engagement, just like what we're receiving in the chat right now. But of course, we want you all to be respectful to one another, just like how our normal audience is every time we have our webinars. And yeah, so for evaluation form, so again, this will be shown at the end of the session. I repeat, at the end of the session for those who are in the webinar Zoom room. So in filling up the evaluation room, remember 10. That's title, email, and name. So as soon as you open the link, check if the title is the same as the webinar you're currently attending today. Make sure that you put your email. Let's just be careful po sa email na lalagay natin. Make sure there's no typo. Kasi if there's a typo in the email or if a wrong email is placed, dun po pupunta yung automated certificate natin. And the same as the name. Since it's an automatically generated certificate, whatever you put in your full name is also what will appear on the certificate itself. So ingat lang doon. 10. Remember 10. And yun, so for any concerns about your certificates, you may email us at engage@positiveworkplaces.org. So again, that's engage@positiveworkplaces.org. So when we post the evaluation form later, it's only going to be open for 30 minutes. So make sure you scan that QR code and fill up the evaluation within the time limit. We will only be entertaining inquiries regarding evals and certificates for about 1 week after the event. So today is Jan 18, Jan 25 yung deadline for that. So ayan.
Yan, Alma. So as we mentioned, our main theme for this month is nurturing new leaders, the key to workplace transformation. Maybe you'd like to give us a background. Bakit nga ba ito yung napili natin this month?
Well, for one, Gabby, it's January. It's the start of the year. Maybe let's ask it as a question for anyone in the room. Since it's a new year, who here is entertaining probably new leadership positions? Baka meron tayo dito mga newly promoted or, let us know in the chat. Is there anyone on the team newly promoted? And anyone?
Yeah.
So let's ask that question.
Yeah, or are there leaders here who have been leaders for a long period of time already, pero they feel that they have to enhance the skills that they have to be able to be more effective in leading their teams?
Ayan, see, so we're already getting people here newly promoted. Wait lang, ang bilis na. Newly promoted si Jay. There are some leads here, si Jeff. OIC supervisor, si Ms. Denzel and Faith. See, so these are just examples of people that we wanted to call out there. So, talking about why we want to focus on this for this month, it's to talk about also the environment that we're all currently facing right now. So for those that don't know, regardless of what industry you're a part of, we are all experiencing an ever-changing environment. There are so much things growing all around us. Maybe you can also share sa chat, what's a new development that you have in your workforce? Maybe you've been working there for about 5 to 10 years now or even more. Ano yung mga bago na na-experience nyo at your work? I'll share one. There's an ever-growing need for digitalization. AI is newly being thrown around. These are new tools, new things that we have to adapt to. And I have to admit, a lot of leaders don't know how to utilize these things. And this is just one example. Gabby, do you have anything else?
Sa akin, I think ever since I started working for mental health, one of the requests that we often get is, how do I manage 4 generation inside the workplace? We all have different bright spots and blind spots, and we don't seem to know how to make it work at the moment. Yeah.
Yes, Rio said something important. As time goes, changes also occur and we have to adapt. And adapting goes for everyone, but especially for the leaders, there's an extra amount of stress that goes on the leaders, especially when all these new changes are coming around. And tama yun, diba, Gabby? A lot of what makes up a demographic of a workforce nowadays, karamihan na Gen Z tsaka younger millennials dyan. Times are indeed changing. And I love that we're choosing to focus on that this month for our free webinars. So later on, we're going to have a talk about, active listening. Later on within the month, we're going to talk about culture of belonging and navigating leadership for our free webinars. But just to show everyone here that here in Positive Workplaces, we're not just offering free webinars. We actually have a public course that we will be launching on February 16 to 17. And it's a leadership for new leaders. Now, the reason why we wanted to launch this public course, for people that have been following positive workplaces for a long time now, you would know that this is not our first time launching a public course. But this time, what yung nagbago naman dito is face-to-face na siya. We want to do something different. So this course is called Leadership for New Leaders. It's a 2-day course in Avira Tower sa may Cubao, sa Quezon City. And the idea behind this course is, we want to we want to target people that are possibly new leaders, or just like what Gabby said, people that have been in a leadership position in a while now and want to learn new age tactics that they can apply in their current scope of work. So yun yung tina-target namin. If you guys are interested in knowing more about this course, I'm sending a link here in the chat. It's on our website to know more about the course, the specific modules. And we really invite you guys to join us in this course for February 16 to 17. So yeah, and for those that want to meet some of the names and faces that Gabby and I have been throwing around in the past year in person, it's possible that you'll meet them throughout this course. So ayun, that's all I'm gonna say, Gabby. Again, the focus of today is really the webinar. I'm just gonna put this out there. I hope you guys can express interest if you guys have it.
Yes, thank you so much for that, Alma, and we're excited to see everyone live face-to-face in the coming months. So now we are going back to our first ever topic for this webinar series, and we're excited to talk about Beyond Words, the impact of active listening on leadership influence. And let me introduce to you our speaker this afternoon. So Mara Yusinko currently is pursuing a PhD in psychology at Ateneo de Manila University, following a master's in counseling psychology. She is an qualitative researcher. Mara delves into the complexities of human behavior with precision. Her expertise extends beyond the confines of academia. She is a licensed psychologist who has been practicing therapy for 5 years. She also excels in facilitating workshops and delivering keynote addresses at seminars, adeptly communicating intricate psychological concepts to diverse audiences. Mara's commitment to the practical application of psychology is evident in her involvement in community research and market consumer research. So, ladies and gentlemen, our community here in Positive Workplaces, allow me to introduce to you Mara Patricia Yusinko, our research speaker this afternoon. Hi, Mara. Good afternoon.
Hi, thank you for the introduction that I wrote. See, nice to meet everyone. I see that there's like almost 1,000 people, so I am nervous but very excited as well. So I'd like to greet everyone Happy New Year, and I feel honored to be the first Salta of Positive Workplaces this month. So let me arrange or share yung aking PowerPoint presentation. Give me a moment. Okay. Sige. Okay, give me a moment. Let me fix this. Present. All right. So, Gabby, is everything going well on your end? Like, can you see the slide?
Yes, we can see your slides, Mara.
All right. Sige. So, I can't really see everyone at the moment. So, hopefully, siguro towards the end of the presentation, the discussion, I get to interact more with everyone else. Okay? But yeah, so as Gabby introduced kanina, our talk for today or our seminar for today is called Beyond Words, the Impact of Active Listening on Leadership Influenced, and presented by me, Mara Yusinko. So, bakit namin tinitle na Beyond Words yung topic na ito? It's because sometimes, di ba, when we think about leadership, the first thing that comes to our mind is that leadership is strictly in the area of like extroversion or extroverted traits. That to be a good leader, dapat magaling ka magsalita. Dapat you're confident all the time and you're able to communicate well. So it's a lot of the speaking and active elements that we tend to focus on. So that's a misconception because of course those are important. Pero may mga foundational skills then that maybe a little bit more on the back end or soft skills that we don't really notice or we don't realize is just as important as the ability to speak, right? So here, we want to highlight and really spotlight the importance of active listening. So it's such a, I guess it's such a basic, it sounds like a basic topic or even skill, but it's really foundational. Because as a leader, it's really not just about speaking. It's not just about like that element of like parang being in front of people, diba? It covers a whole spectrum of things like crisis management, guidance. Sometimes you end up like semi-counseling the people under you, diba? People go to you for support and help. There's innovation, direction. So ang laki ng sakop ng leadership talaga. And one thing that can really help us be able to address that broad coverage of like skills and I guess goals of a leader is to really learn to step back and listen before we move forward. So here is active listening. So a little bit about what I do or what my group does. So I'm part of Rogue Solutions Consultancy. So very ano din, parang I guess malapit sa heart namin tong topic na to. Because I'm a counselor. So a lot of the people in our group are also counselors and therapists. And this is like something basic that we learned in like MA when we were taught, how to counsel people, like the skill of active listening. We can't do the other mga schools of thought or other types of skills without learning how to actively listen. So I'm excited to share it to everyone because it shouldn't be gate kept in that parang section of parang work or society. It should be something that we're able to apply across different industries and different corporations, institutions, government, NGOs, everywhere. Okay? Sige. So, outline natin for today. So, here are the things that we'll be talking about. So, we'll define what's the definition? What do we mean when we say active listening? Okay? And why is it important? Then we make the connection dun sa link of active listening, being able to apply that skill, and how does that affect yung influence ng leaders. Okay? Then step 3, before we jump into the skills, let's identify muna barriers to active listening and how to be able to surpass them. Then we talk about some foundational or basic skills, and then we talk about what to avoid towards the end. And then that wraps up the whole presentation. Okay? So we'll have the Q&A afterwards. So let's start. Okay, so how do you actively listen? So before I present the slides, I want to hear people's opinions first. Okay, so I guess para sa inyo or for you guys, what does it mean or what comes to mind when you hear the word active listening? It doesn't have to be the correct definition, the proper definition. It's really like ano yung feel nyo? What comes to mind? So in the screen, there's the menti.com. So you may click, but not click, you may go to the link, and this is the code, and then you may type in the answer. So maybe I'll give you 2 to 3 minutes, 2 minutes to type in your answers. So
yeah. Mara, we're also getting answers in the chat box. I'm not sure if you see it or do you want me to read it for you?
Maybe you could sort of like breeze through some of the parang common answers.
Okay. So we have attentiveness, focus and attention, intentional. You are in the moment. Those are.
I love that.
I can also see that our Menti board is also being populated.
Yes. Nagpe-fill in na siya. May mga common words na tumatatak or lumalabas. Sige. So a few more minutes so everyone has a chance to put in their thoughts. Wait, nag-pause yung sharing. Is it still there, my screen, Gabby?
Yeah, we can still see it.
Okay.
Are you able to see the answers on yours?
Yes, I see it. Though some of it are becoming smaller and smaller and harder to read.
Yeah, you can see. We also have a lot coming in sa chat box.
Yeah, sige nga, I'll go through.
Yeah.
Well, alam na pala nila, we don't need to talk na. Joke. No, but a lot of it, I guess, yun ang nangibabaw na words sa chat box would be understanding, openness, mindfulness. Some people talk about empathy, responding. I think we're really very close to what it is. If I were to look at the word cloud, of course, there's a lot of things in here, but I suppose yung mga pinaka-common themes na malaking lumalabas would be understanding, focus, attention, attentiveness, and empathy. So a lot of like parang being able to zone in on a person, I suppose. That's what we mean by attention, focus, and connecting and all of these things. Yeah. Okay. There's still a lot coming in. But I guess we thank you so much for everyone's input. But yeah, more or less, these are the things that we think of when we hear the word active listening. So, i-put together natin lahat ng to kasi natutumpak ng mga parang answers dito yung definition of active listening. So, it's really about like maybe weaving these words together. So, I'll move on. I hope that's okay. But thank you for everyone. So, definition and importance of active listening. So, i-define muna natin kung ano nga ba yung ibig sabihin ng active listening. Okay, so to actively listen is to fully understand the message that's being conveyed. So, it sort of like pays attention not just to what's being said. So, obviously, that's part of what we're trying to listen for or understand, the verbal communication. Pero yung important dito is to be able to be sensitive and to detect the nonverbal cues and the underlying emotions behind what is being said as well. So hindi lang siya yung sinasabi, it's also what's behind what's being said as well. So typically,
Mara,
yeah.
I think we can unshare and share I think nag-freeze siya.
Oh
yeah, I think
no.
we can just unshare and share.
Sige, I'll stop share.
Ayan. What we're seeing is the audience is paying attention indeed.
Nag-actively listen.
Yes.
Teka, i-exit ko lang yung initial slide.
Ayan. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Wait lang. I shall wait lang. Kita ba?
Yes, you're back on the slide now.
I'm back on track. How about now? We're still here?
Yes, we're still here.
Great. Okay. So active listening requires leaders or people in general to be fully present. So kanina, people were talking about attention, focus, and mindfulness, and engage. Okay. Demonstrating a genuine interest in what the speaker is saying and yung perspective ng speaker as well. So part of what we're trying to sort of create when we're actively listening is we want to be able to create a safe space for people to be able to express their opinions and feel genuinely heard. So I guess parang alam naman natin, di ba? Maybe we've all gone through something similar. Now, sometimes when you talk to people, halimbawa, you're talking to a parent or to a boss, and it feels so frustrating sometimes na parang narinig niya yung sinabi mo, pero hindi niya naintindihan. Kasi hearing and listening are not necessarily the same things. And we all know how frustrating that feeling could be, that you're trying to, for example, talk about a specific concern or a grievance or maybe what you're just going through. And people don't understand because they're not listening for what's not being said or what's the underlying emotion and message and perspective na dinadala ni speaker. So I'd like to talk a little bit about ano ba yung difference ng hearing sa listening. So sa narinig at pakikinig. Okay? So when we talk about hearing kasi, it's really just a passive, more of like an involuntary process. Narinig ko. It seldom requires a lot of effort. And it's a biological mechanism. And it's really just your ears, your senses picking up stimuli. But what we're trying to talk about here is really more on the listening aspect, pakikinig. So ang pakikinig, it's an active process. It's not just passively going through ano ba yung sinabi ng tao, di ba? It's voluntary kasi engage nga sabi dito sa slide. So you decide to be in there, in that moment, in the present. It requires effort. So it's not as easy as just like listening to someone. And hindi lang siya yung physical stimuli na narinig mo. You're actually interpreting what is being said in that information. So there, so hopefully parang aligned tayo as we start kung ano nga ba yung concept ng active listening. So ano yung role nito? So I guess we're trying to connect this with the concept of leadership, right? So what's the role of active listening when we're talking about leadership settings? Okay? Because again, people tend to think na leaders like speak. Leaders are the ones who sort of dictate, diba? Parang usually that's what yung old school definition of what leadership tends to be. But we're trying to sort of like create a different perspective. So listening is a foundation for successful leadership and effective communication because, first, it creates an environment of open communication and trust. And trust is very important. We'll talk a little bit more about that later. It enables people to understand nonverbal cues, which enhances interpersonal relationships. Again, diba, we don't even have to go to the setting of work. Even just like with a partner, a spouse, or with a parent, minsan frustrating na, bakit hindi nyo nagigets yung nararamdaman ko, di ba? Parang naririnig mo yung sinasabi ko, pero hindi mo nagigets yung nararamdaman ko. Hindi ako ma-validate. Therefore, hindi ko ma-feel na napapakinggan ako. And because we're listening, oh no, nawala ulit. Ayun. So, are we seeing it?
Yes, I'll share for you, Mar. I think nag-hang ulit on your end.
Oh no, sige Gabby, please do share.
Okay.
Sige. And dahil meron tayong, I guess yun nga, dahil napapakinggan tayo, nagfo-foster ng collaboration and trust in the workplace. If there's open communication and trust, we feel safe. And if we feel safe, then we're able to speak out. When we're able to speak out, we're able to share our ideas, our concerns. And typically, di ba, that's a sign of a healthy parang environment na nakakapagsalita ka. Nag-i-improve din yung team dynamics. So, syempre, the leader, di ba? You're the one on top nga eh. To a certain degree, di ba? Parang you're put in a position when you're managing people. So, what you model, ina-absorb din and yun din yung fina-follow ng ibang tao. So, if you're modeling this, nag-i-improve din yung, I guess, the way that people communicate with each other. So, it creates better team dynamics and stronger relationships. And lastly, we enhance empathy. So we become able to better relate to each other, to the people in the team, and nagkakaroon ng better understanding ng perspective ng lahat. And again, di ba, diversity is a hallmark of a healthy ecosystem. And to a certain degree, work needs that diversity. And diversity comes from perspectives, and perspectives being put forward. So that's why it's very foundational na parang yung leaders natin, marunong silang makinig. Sige, next slide, Gabby. So yung key takeaway natin dito is active listening is a fundamental leadership skill that fosters trust, strengthens communication, and because of that strengthening of communication, ay empower yung leader and the people in the group, and we're all better, we're better empowered to be able to make good and informed decisions. Okay? So, next. Okay. So, i-link natin. So, ano nga pala, bakit nakakatulong sa leadership influence yung active listening? So, medyo na-mention na natin dun sa previous slide, pero i-deepen lang natin ng onti yung understanding. So, we'll focus in the next slide dun sa pinaka cornerstones ng engagement, okay? Because that's what we're trying to foster when we're developing listening, diba? And we're making that a culture. Gusto natin na magkaroon ng culture of trust and empathy. So, yung trust, so syempre dun nagsisimula ang lahat. Because we're trusting of each other, we trust our leader, we're able to be more transparent. Diba? And if ganun yung transparency, mas nakakapag-communicate tayo ng better sa isa't isa. We're able to better to innovate, solve problems, detect problems before or crisis before they even come to fruition or, before they even develop. And I guess parang it feels good kasi when you trust your leader, it feels na committed sila sa, not just the company, but committed sila sa'yo. And I guess diba, same naman, again, outside of the traditional leadership roles and companies. When you're talking about teachers, parents, you really trust people. You want to be open to people that make you feel na may commitment din sila sa'yo, hindi lang one way. So, ayun, I guess in that sense, nagkakaroon ng mas respectful, sabi nga ni Elizabeth, na parang environment. And nag-trickle down yun dun sa mga tao na nililid natin. And we're able to have better, productive conversations. So trust is very important. And when you trust someone, hindi hard sell to follow, right? So pag people are just coming from a place na they're the expert, sila yung may alam, sometimes it feels not so good, or it doesn't feel like you want to follow the person. Unlike this one, through open communication and trust, you don't have to sort of force people to follow you. The engagement is already there because they want to follow you. And we also develop empathy. So another cornerstone of engagement, which feels like parang may place ba yung empathy sa workplace? But the reality is yes, because the workplace is made up of people, right? And people have emotions. And therefore people need to be able to have that understanding and parang, I guess, yung camaraderie together that we sort of like develop through empathy. So it's active listening is a direct pathway to developing and expressing empathy. The more that we develop our empathy, then nagbe-build yung emotional intelligence natin. And then if tumataas yung emotional intelligence, then nakakapag-connect tayo at a deeper level. And again, just like with trust, if people are open to us, if people are able to talk to us and engage with us as leaders, you can sort of prevent issues and crises or serious problems from happening. Not naman necessarily remove them, but it's easier to be able to prevent them lang. And again, empathetic leaders inspire motivated and positive workforces as well. So there. So ito yung parang, I guess, yung ating parang culture na gustong i-develop through listening. So next slide. So key takeaway, to summarize what I just said, active listening and leadership results in improved decision-making, enhanced team collaboration, increased employee engagement and satisfaction, and ultimately contributing to success of the organization. Sige. So I guess dun sa next, I think we'll be talking about barriers na. So what prevents us from being able to, I guess, enact active listening? And how do we work on these things? So before I tell you the barriers, I guess I just want again to hear your thoughts. Ano sa tingin niyo yung mga common nating barriers to active listening? So yeah, go ahead. Meron tayong mentee question again. Mood. Tama. Sige, excited to hear about it. I love it.
Ayan, Mara, can you see?
Yeah, I see everything. So a lot of bias. I could see na a lot of like biases are being mentioned. Some are emotions like mood, kung ano yung emotional state ng tao in the present. Some are practical like distractions. May iba silang ginagawa. Attention span also sometimes, that's true. Perspectives, yes, na parang iba-iba tayo ng pinanggagalingan, so hirap to enter the world of another person. Solution-focused mindset. Sometimes, I suppose, especially if nandun pa lang tayo sa part na we're still trying to listen, and then we're already jumping to solutions, so maybe that's what it means. Ego comes up a lot, so that's true. So the feeling na I know the best, or I can't make mistakes, diba? Sometimes. Focus, beliefs. Oh my gosh, ang dami. Thank you. Parang nandyan na lahat. Lack of empathy, worrying, that's true. Those fall under the emotions as well. Close-mindedness, again, comes with the perspective, culture. So actually, like, tinutumpak nating lahat to. If I show you the next slide, so spoiler alert, ganun na nga. Iti-themes na lang natin. So first and foremost, yes, ito yung mga common barriers to active listening. Though of course, marami tayong minention sa chat box and also sa Menti that might not be fully covered, but more or less, they fall under these themes. So first is distractions. So sometimes, diba, very fast-paced society, dami nating ginagawa. And it's so easy to be distracted nowadays. Like I could be listening to a talk, but also like scrolling through my Facebook in another slide, right? Or another window. So same thing. Sometimes we're talking to people, but we're divided or we're not focused. So that's one. Second is preconceived notions and biases. So dito pumapasok yung mga pinag-uusapan natin kanina sa answers na difference of perspectives, religions, cultures. Lahat yan nandito sa preconceived notions and biases. Syempre lahat tayo may pinanggagalingan. We all grew up with different cultures and upbringing, and we bring it into the room, quote unquote. So when we're talking to the people, we bring it to the room. So we need to be able to put that aside and be open to the person in front of us as well. Assumption of understanding, yes. So that's the third barrier na minsan akala natin gets na natin yung sinasabi nila or alam natin yung pinag-uusapan. So we just move forward with our own assumptions. Fourth is personal emotional state. So maraming mga different emotions na binato dun sa answers kanina. Worry, anxiety, sometimes your own mood, or minsan you're just not in a good place to be with people at the moment. Or may dinadala ka in the room as well. And lastly, the desire to respond immediately. So wanting to throw out solutions agad or wanting to be able to solve or stop the conversation na and cut it short. So here are some common barriers to active listening. And most of what we read kanina dun sa Mentimeter and in the chat kind of fall under these 5 main categories. So here, and just to say to everyone, it's normal for us to be able to, to be vulnerable to these barriers. Kasi hindi tayo perfect people. So minsan, no matter what we do or no matter how well-intentioned we are, a lot of these things can be unconscious as well. So nadadala natin. So that's why we have these talks and all of these things para ma-bring siya to awareness and we can do something about it. So next slide. So ano nga yung gagawin natin? So how do we work or strategies to overcome some of these barriers? Okay. So one would be very obvious. For the distractions, we minimize distractions. So it really comes to the intentionality and engagement we were talking about kanina na if you're about to talk with one of your team members, then really carve out a time for them. Try not to be like answering emails and then also talking to the person that you're trying to talk to sa team mo. So it really means na if we're gonna have a session or we're gonna have like a meeting, nakabigay yung full attention ko, yung awareness ko and focus ko sa inyo. I'll try to sort of turn off my PC first, or not my PC, my cell phone. I'll try not to look at my emails first. I'll focus on you. And that's the same even with our children or spouses na but it's irritating sometimes. You're talking to them, but they're texting. They're listening, but it just feels like they're not listening, right? So, and then they respond in ways na hindi mo naman sinabi yun. So minimize distractions is one. Second would be cultivate empathy and self-awareness. So empathy is really being able to put yourself in the position of another person. So sometimes pag gusto na natin mag-respond or gusto nating magalit, mainis, or mag-cut short ng conversation, pause lang tayo and be like, oh sige, iba yung pinanggagalingan niya. What if I put myself in their position? Ano kaya yung perspective niya? So it's as simple as that. And self-awareness. So self-awareness is really about to be a leader kasi bago tayo mag-lead ng mga people, kailangan mag-dig din tayo sa sarili natin kasi you'll be dealing with people na and people can trigger a lot of things in us. Trigger a lot of wounds, traumas, etc. That's what we deal with in counseling, right? So sometimes nagbabanggaan yung mga yan, yung trauma mo, yung trigger mo, dun sa kausap mo. So if you feel na parang ang reactive mo to certain statements or halimbawa meron kang Gen Z or millennial younger person na kausap and lagi kang natitrigger sa kanila, mag-pause tayo and mag-self-reflect na bakit kaya? Ano kaya yung nakaka-trigger? Bakit ako natitrigger every time they bring up their concerns, or whenever I feel like they're complaining. In my perspective, that's what I see it as complaining. Bakit kaya yun yung nakikita ko? So there, self-awareness. Asking clarifying questions. So that's another barrier, especially if feeling mo na hindi mo nagigets yung sinasabi ng tao, then feel free to clarify or to ask for more details. Managing our emotional states is another way to sort of overcome barriers na manage din natin kung saan tayo nanggagaling. Kung inis ka or iritado ka na, dun pa lang sa start ng conversation, either take a break, take a breather before you start, or maybe just reschedule kasi hindi ka rin makakapag-listen. And of course, practicing mindful listening. So being mindful is just being in the present. I think people have talked about that in the comments na pag nandun ka, nandun ka. You're not anywhere else. So here are some strategies lang. But of course, it takes work and it takes practice. So let's not be frustrated pag hindi natin nagigets agad. Sige. Next slide. Okay, drink water. Okay, so ito na. Nandito na tayo sa exciting part. So ano yung hows of active listening? So paano natin? Ano yung mga, I guess, basic skills na pwede nating i-develop when it comes to active listening? Okay, so let's go through it. First, let's talk about non-verbal cues. So we'll go to the verbal, parang, what do you call that? Verbal skills later on. Pero mag-start tayo sa non-verbal. So first, ito yung mga different aspects of non-verbal communication. So space, if we're talking about face-to-face here, try not to be too close or too far away as well. So like maybe a safe space would be like an arm's length, something like that. So tamang space lang. Arm's length would be like a safe parang middle ground, right? Second is your posture. So try to be relaxed and leaning forward. Nasa sense ng people pag tense tayo and parang rigid tayo and closed, di ba? Nasa sense yun ng people. So when they could see that you're not relaxed, you're tense, they can also tense up. And when they're tensed up, they get defensive and unable to open up as well. Arms, preferred na open, para open posture yung arms. So pag nakaganyan tayo, di ba, parang sometimes it doesn't mean anything for you, but yung perception ng ibang tao is closed siya, galit siya, or hindi siya willing to listen. So let's just be conscious na, okay, I'll just open my posture. So open and relax. Eyes, regular lang. Ang ibig sabihin ng regular is not like intensely parang eye to eye ka na parang hindi ka nagbe-blink, because that's also very unnerving. But also maintaining some eye contact. Meaning na tumitingin ka sa person, hindi ka nakatingin sa ibang bagay, which makes you look unfocused and that you're not paying attention. Pace and voice and volume rate. It's good. The rule of thumb, it's not the same for every situation. Na i-match natin yung expression and yung rate ng pagsalita ng person na kausap natin. Pero syempre, kung they're coming in hot, they're coming in angry, then as leaders, tayo yung magde-de-escalate. So, level down naman tayo dun sa kausap natin. So, I guess the question is, paano kung nasa phone call ako? Like, I'm talking to someone, naka-camera off kami, and we're doing this conversation over the phone. So, I guess some tips to sort of like amend the lack of verbal cues would be to really strengthen yung mga verbal skills natin later on and really focus on their voice, volume, and rate. Try to be conscious that you don't sound like you're nagmamadali or galit, or to make sure that malumanay lang yung voice natin and very open. Posture sometimes help as well. So sometimes nagkakaroon ng feedback loop yung mind and yung body natin. If tense tayo, like kahit na nasa phone ka lang pero nakaganyan ka or parang nafe-feel mo yung rigidness, then it sends a feedback loop to our mind na galit ka, or you're angry, you're tense, you're irritated, and lumalabas yun verbally. So if you notice on the phone, kahit na hindi ka nakikita ng person na naka-tense ka, call yourself out and gently shake it off. Mag-relax ka. So it sends a feedback loop to your brain. You're okay. We're just having a conversation. We're just listening. Okay? Okay. So next, other things to consider. Ayan. So bago dun sa skill mismo, here are some general ways to convey a vibe or a stance of non-judgment. Okay? So ito yung mga internal reflection that we go through before we enter the conversation. So approach a conversation with an open mind and try to sort of release muna yung mga preconceived judgments natin from the conversation. Because if we come in with judgments, naku, ito na naman yung kausap ko, annoying to. Or yan na naman, magko-complain siya. Then you come in defensive, you come in angry, and it becomes unproductive already. So try to put it aside muna. Show sincere interest. This can be done through a combination of nonverbal skills. So yung sa skill 1 na open posture, generally open yung parang face natin and yung body language natin. And then combined with some verbal cues as well. Like, please tell me more or go on, I'm listening. So we do this a lot in therapy kasi syempre if nagsasalita siya, nakaupo ka lang, sometimes the person feel like hindi ka interested or you're not listening. So sometimes to help them move along, please tell me more. Okay, go on, listen. I'm listening. Ganon. So, meron akong nakikita dito, medyo challenging sa introverts. Maybe a little bit, but it's a skill. So I guess the great thing about these things is it's practice. It's like a muscle. You exercise it, you get better. You can start with small things first if it's a challenge for you because you're an introvert. Sorry, I saw someone comment kasi. Sige, so you might also opt to explicitly express that you're there to listen and that anything expressed in the dialogue would be received non-judgmentally. So usually, halimbawa, meron kayong performance meeting, kakatakot. as the person being evaluated, nakakatakot siya, diba? And then you're a manager, you have to relay certain things. So sometimes to just set it up explicitly na, oy, I want you to relax. I might talk about some like pain points and things that we need to improve, pero I want you to know na nandito rin ako to listen, and anything that you say in this space, hindi to subject to judgment or anything like that. So sometimes just hearing that can also allow the person to open up na. So the crucial step is establishing safety. So I guess maybe aside from listening, makikita natin yung mga ibang points on how to establish psychological safety dun sa talk yata next week, di ba? Jan 25, there's also a free seminar on psychological safety. So there. Okay, so now we go through some of the verbal skills. Okay, so first verbal skill is probing. So probing through open-ended questions. So the use of open-ended probing or questions promotes meaningful, enriched dialogue and encourages more thoughtful responses. And mas nagiging rich nga yung conversation. Siguro an example, di ba, parang if tinanong ka nung tao, masaya ka ba? Yes or no? Yes, I guess. Diba? Parang it sort of like stops the person from being able to process like, oh, what does that mean na happy ako? In what way am I happy? It's just a yes or no question. It's very closed. Or, ano sa tingin, parang masaya ka ba dun sa performance mo kanina? Or masaya ka ba sa performance mo this month? I guess, yes. Diba? So here's an example, like of a prompt. And then I'll show examples of like actual conversations. So an open-ended prompt would be, I'd like to hear your opinion on this. Or maybe just tell me more, diba? So try not to sort of like limit the answer options to a yes or a no. Yun yung parang pinaka main point dito. Or else, you would know, diba? Pag tinanong ka ng yes or no questions, you would just say yes or no and not really give more details. Because it doesn't feel like that's being asked for. So we try to use open-ended questions to be able to probe deeper. So that's skill 1, probing through open-ended questions. So ano yung mga example? Skill 3 na pala to, pero verbally, that's skill 1. So ano yung mga examples of this one? So let's look at the examples sa next slide. Okay. So nagkaroon kayo ng training. Ito, parang ganito, nagkaroon kayo ng talk or training. Tapos sabi, did the training meet your expectations? Yes. No. Tapos, diba? So maybe a different way of like gaining a deeper insight from that would be, what specific aspects of the training did you find most valuable? So if I was asked that question, I'll have to think, what was the part na nag-resonate sa akin the most? And then I'll start to answer along that lines as opposed to a yes or a no. Maybe an extra probing would be, meron bang additional topics or formats that you'd like to explore in future trainings? So that gives me information. So that gives, for example, Positive Workplaces more information. Ano kayong gusto ng audience natin? As opposed to, yes, masaya kami dun sa training. Tapos, wala masyadong insight. Alam lang natin masaya sila. So second, oh, you're a boss, kunyari, and napansin mo one of the people, the team members, is not performing as well. They look like they're emotionally distraught. So sabi mo sa kanya, oh, meeting tayo. And then yung entry mo is, are you feeling stressed at work? So syempre, it's a yes or no question. And like parang if I was the employee or I am the person that you're asking, I'll feel defensive. Kasi pag sinabi kong yes, then baka pagalitan mo ako. Pag sinabi kong no, I lied to myself to get out of trouble, pero hindi ko naman nasabi yung totoo, which is true. I am stressed at work. So a different way or an open-ended way to ask that would be, can you share your experiences with work-related stress? And so they have to think, ano nga pa yung mga experiences ko with work-related stress? Okay? Are there specific areas na kailangan mo ng support or resources na could be beneficial to you? So mas productive yung conversation kasi you're actually, through the questioning, already leading the solutions. Even if you don't say the solutions. Sige, next. Ano pa ba? Last example. You have a project and there's a timeline, right? So sabi mo, oh, sige, ito yung project, tapos na. Ano, so acceptable ba yung timeline sa inyo? So it's a yes or a no. So pag sinabi kong no, baka you'll think I'm not competent and then mapagalitan ako. Pag sinabi kong yes, edi napilitan ako to say yes even if hindi ko naman talaga kaya at that timeline, di ba? So an open-ended version would be, oh sige, how do you envision the project timeline fitting in your current workload? And meron ka bang adjustments that you'd like to suggest? So mapapaisip ako, oh nga, no, ito yung mga different work ko, saan ko siya feasibly matatapos? And then it doesn't mean naman na, I guess sometimes people get scared na, porket nag-active listening tayo, that means agree lang tayo ng agree. This doesn't mean that you have to agree. It just means that you can negotiate, you can coordinate better in a realistic. Okay, next. Skill number 4. Reflecting. So kanina is probing, ito mirroring, pag-reflect. Okay? So pag nagre-reflect ka, para ka lang mirror. Isipin mo para kang salamin. And nire-reflect mo lang kung ano yung nakikita mo at naririnig mo. So, nire-reflect mo rin kung ano yung nakikita mong nararamdaman ng tao. So it's particularly useful for a lot of different things, but especially if nag-iiba yung message ng person, what they're trying to say, versus their nonverbals. Like they sound like they're not okay, but they're saying they're okay. So that's a good parang instance where you could sort of reflect back to them. Okay, so a little example here. So nag-uusap silang dalawa, right? Sabi ni subordinate, I've been feeling overwhelmed with the new project deadlines. Ang sabi ni manager, if I were to reflect back to my team member, I'll say, oh, so it sounds like binabalik ko lang sa'yo. So it sounds like you're overwhelmed. So highlight mo yung feelings. You're overwhelmed. And then I can ask an open question. Can you share more specific challenges that you're facing? So nag-combo tayo doon. 1-2 punch tayo. So next. Other examples of reflecting or mirroring. So sabi ni team member, so I guess nagkakaroon nga yung are you emotionally stressed na question natin. Sabi ni team member, don't worry, I'm fine. Pero mukha siyang upset. Like you could see, na yun nga, di ba? Kasi nag-active listen ka. Hindi mo lang pinick up yung sinabi niya. Nakita mo yung body language niya, mukha siyang upset. So pwede nating i-mirror sa kanila yon na you're saying you're okay, but I can hear by the tone of your voice na para kang upset. Tama ba yung basa ko? Am I reading this right? So as simple as that, you don't have to go like super complicated. Literally what's in front of you, you reflect it back to the person. Okay, next. Nagkaroon kayo ng team evaluation. So sabi ng isang team member, I'm interested in taking more leadership responsibilities. So yun yung sinabi niya, she seems excited, she seems gung-ho. So sabi mo, oh, it sounds like you're eager, So you got that from the nonverbals to take on more leadership responsibilities. Literally, that's what she said. And then we add a little bit of the parang probing. Can you share specific areas or projects where you can see yourself making an impact? So there. So that's reflecting. Ibabalik lang natin sa kanila. And it sounds complicated, but the way we sort of like simplify it is just listen for what's being said, but also pay attention to what's not being said through nonverbals. And then ibalik lang sa person. It might seem like, anong use nun? Minsan kasi, as people, we don't have insights to our own feelings or our own parang thought process. So, and it happens a lot in therapy. Sometimes that's all you do. You just reflect back what they said. You said this, but you're feeling this way. And then, magka-click yun sa person na, oo nga, no? I feel upset. Therefore, I should do something about that, right? So, that's why reflecting is important as well. Okay, so skill number 5, paraphrasing and summarizing. So parang dami na nangyayari. So hindi mo naman kailangan gawin to all in one go. Okay? These are things that we utilize to be able to convey and to be able to practice active listening. So paraphrasing and summarizing. It contributes to clearer communication, improved understanding, and stronger interpersonal relationships, lalo na in professional settings. So basically, what you're doing when you're paraphrasing is kinukuha mo yung mga themes, yung mga tema nung pinag-uusapan. So, pinupulot mo yung mga main themes. So, you get that kasi nakinig ka. And then, parang binabalot mo. And you're sort of, you're highlighting ano yung pinaka-importanting aspeto or aspect of this conversation. So, what it does is it brings out the intent of the speaker. You also, before moving forward, can confirm if nagkaintindihan tayo. And you try to see if paano nga ba nakikita nung kausap mo yung nangyayari. So some examples of like mga parang starter statements when we're paraphrasing or summarizing. Sige, naman may sinabi ka sa akin. Sabihin ko, okay, wait lang. Let me see if I heard you right. So what you mean is this one. This is what you said, right? Other examples would be, are you saying blank? Or in other words, do you mean to say this one? Okay. So again, go back tayo dun sa scenario of like someone upset siya and then you're trying to negotiate like a project deadline. Okay. So this is an example, yung big blob of like text dito. Oh, sige. Let me see if I get this right or if I got this right. You're upset because you think you're going off in the wrong direction and you want to clarify your objectives bago tayo mag-launch ng project. Tama ba? Is this right? So basically what I'm doing, you might feel na ang lapit niya sa reflecting. Yeah, sometimes malapit naman siya. Like hindi naman tayo strict or rigid dun sa parang hindi, reflecting to. Sometimes a lot of these things do come together. So right here, what we're doing is, we're trying to grasp yung main goals or main parang perspectives and themes ng conversation. And we're trying to parang clarify and parang get it right with the person. So I'll give other examples of these scenarios. Okay, so sa next slide. All right, examples. Original statement. Sabi ng person that you're talking to, our project is behind schedule due to unforeseen challenges in the implementation phase. So nagkaroon kayo ng meeting kasi delayed yung project, diba? Stressful. If I'm paraphrasing, I'll just say, so if I understand correctly, na ina-attribute mo yung delay in the project because of unforeseen challenges during the implementation stage. Is that right? So it sounds like parang, you might feel like, so parang pinaparot mo lang. Not really. I guess you're trying to sort of clarify and make sure na parehas tayo ng page. Tama ba? Ito ba? Ito ba yung nangyayari? I'm not assuming this is what's happening ba? And to summarize, so maybe the project is behind schedule due to unexpected challenges encountered in the implementation phase. So yung main themes natin dito is may challenges and the challenges affected yung implementation. Kaya tayo delayed. Okay, so ayun yung parang example. Meron pa bang example, Daisa? Next slide. Then wala na. So that's why examples. Okay? So nandito na tayo towards the last part of this conversation and dialogue. So yun nga, I guess to summarize, diba? Parang when it comes to active listening, yung concrete translation niya is minding your nonverbals, utilizing verbal prompts to sort of like convey a vibe of openness. And yung skills na ina-apply natin dito would be probing through open-ended questions, reflecting, paraphrasing. Okay. So dito sa last part, magkatuwaan lang tayo. So I hope people don't get offended. I actually learned this from my mentor, si Father Nilo of Ugat. So he teaches this when he tries to teach people how to do basic counseling skills for I guess non-clinical settings. So sa mga barangay, communities, ganyan. So to sort of like simplify, ano nga ba yung dapat hindi natin gawin? Meron tayong mga characters dito. So mga tawag niya dito is the verbal villains, okay? So this is the opposite of active listening. What do we try to avoid? First, we avoid being a hangman. So ano ibig sabihin ng hangman? Hangman is, parang you're punishing the speaker for something that happened. So you're making it worse for the speaker. So for example, of a hangman, nag-go to you yung subordinate mo, sabi niya, I feel bad kasi I feel like hindi maganda yung presentation ko to our stakeholders. Tapos sabi mo sa kanya, yeah, I think you bombed the presentation kasi hindi ka nag-prepare properly for it. So yun yung example of a hangman. Another villain would be the historian. So the historian likes to use their own experiences, which has its place, but not during the start of a conversation or of like establishing a relationship. Uses their experiences, and instead of parang centering on the issue of the person, sinesenter mo yung sarili mo dun sa conversation. So for example, nag-complain si Gen Z, sabi niya, oh my God, ang hirap naman. Parang, is it really like this? So much overtime. Parang I feel like that's affecting my work-life balance. Tapos sabi sa'yo ng boss mo or ng leader mo, do you know, nung panahon ko, nung nasa posisyon mo ako, ganyan din kahirap, pero chinaga ako. It doesn't really solve anything. You just make the person feel bad. No, I suck because I don't know how to suck it up, diba? As opposed to getting into, okay, what do you mean when you say na parang work-life balance? Ano ba yung parang gusto mong makamit for yourself? And then you actually get into a productive conversation. The next villain is the florist. Florist siya kasi mahilig siyang magdagdag ng mga magaganda at magagarbong words instead of focusing on the problem or the conversation. So sabi ni employee, sir, ma'am, sorry po na-affect yung parang performance ko last week kasi po na-rush sa emergency room yung tatay ko. Hindi namin alam anong mangyayari sa kanya. Sabi sa'yo ni boss, Iha, anak, okay lang. There's probably a hidden blessing in all of this. Everything happens for a reason. So that's the florist. Beautiful words, but meaningless kasi it doesn't address what's happening. Like maybe in that conversation, it's like, okay, so that's happening. I hear that you're stressed and you're distraught about your dad's emergency. But we have like mga things that we need to be able to accomplish this week. What do you think we could do together? Or do you feel like you need to take a leave? Is that something that you'd like for yourself? So something like that, maybe yung gusto natin. Okay, next. Last two na verbal villain. And then we're done. Next, si magician. Okay? So si magician, favorite niyang mag-disappear yung problem. Kaya siya magician. Kasi gusto niya isang swish of a wand, wala na yung problema, tapos na. So, yun nga, balik tayo. I bombed my presentation, for example. Tapos sabi sa akin ni magician na boss ko or leader, hayaan mo na. At least may natutunan ka na leksyon. Alam mo na ngayon na dapat mag-prepare ka properly. Tapos hindi na siya mangyayari ulit. Which is true. But also, the unspoken parang communication there is the person under you or the employee feels embarrassed, humiliated, and that needs to be addressed bago tayo mag-move on to the next presentation so that they still feel confident and empowered to push forward better. Or sabi mo sa boss mo, I hear this from clients a lot na, Sasabihin nila na, I have a teammate na hindi kasi nagwo-work, hindi productive. So ako yung na-affect, ako yung natatambakan ng work. Sinabi mo siya sa boss mo or sa team leader. Tapos sabi ni team leader, don't mind her na. Ganyan talaga siya. Better ignore her na lang. So it doesn't really address the problem na I'm doing most of the work because she's not doing any of the work, right? So it doesn't make the problem disappear. Last, the foreman, okay? Fixer, which is, I mean, personally, sometimes I have to be mindful na hindi ako maging foreman or maging fixer, especially with clients. So sabihin niya stress daw siya, parang I feel like overloaded and overwhelmed with the project and with my teammate sa project. Tapos sabi ni foreman sa akin, why don't you just solution focus masyado at the start? Why don't you just focus on the project? That way, hindi ka na-stress by your teammate. But that doesn't address the fact that hindi equal yung workload namin and ako yung natatambakan pa din. So I'm gonna get burnt out. And then if I get burnt out and I'm the only working member of your team, then the team crumbles as well, right? So there. So let's go to the next slide. Katuwaan lang to. Let's make fun of ourselves. That's one way to be able to move forward is kaya nating pagtawanan yung sarili natin. So I'm guilty of being and log in your votes. It's okay. Sometimes I'm guilty of being the foreman. So ano po yung mga parang minsan nakikita natin na, shit, sorry, I said a bad word, I'm so sorry. Oh no, I sometimes do this. Yan. Thank you for being so honest and open about this. So marami tayong mga florists, okay? And again, for most people, this is coming from a good place. So sometimes we're not doing this to invalidate people or to hurt people, but we just genuinely want to make people feel better. But sometimes that's not what they need. Sometimes it's not about feeling better. It's really just about getting your feelings across and feeling heard. And then people can move forward better. So again, as you're answering this, siguro to end, yun nga, I ended with this. It's quite funny and it's relatable. But really just to show na all of us are sometimes vulnerable to these things or victims. Sometimes we're the victims, sometimes we're the ones doing these things, and that's okay. And that's why we have these simple like webinars and all of these things like active listening para rin matuto tayo how to sort of like deal and utilize listening better in the realm of our workplace, our leadership, so that we have, I guess, better, empowered, more coordinated, and meaningful conversations with our team. So, ayan, thank you sa mga florists, historians, hangman, magicians, and formans, and everyone else in between, and sa mga taong gusto lang matuto. So, last slide to summarize everything. Okay, so if isa-summarize ko, when we're saying active listening, we really want to just emphasize na it's engaged, it's active, like the title itself, and it's not a passive activity. So typically, it means that we're fully engaged and we're paying attention and we're there to comprehend the speaker's message. So to the introverts, lalo na parang, oh no, parang ang dami. But actually, as introverts, sometimes sanay na kayo to listen and to take the step back. So it's really just about reflecting those observations back to the people that you're talking to. So that's what it is talaga. And just being present in that conversation. And to the people na feel like parang pag ganito na, mag-agree lang kami. No, when you say active listening, we're not advocating na you just agree to everything that your team members are saying. When we're talking about active listening, it's really about being able to madidig natin deeper yung true issues and kung saan nanggagaling yung mga tao. It doesn't mean na masusunod sila all the time, but we can have better ways of resolving conflict, making solutions, and maybe even like moving forward better. And we're trying to signify understanding that's applicable across all facets of leadership. So if hindi ka pa boss, this is something you could do with your children, with your family members, your titas, your titos, your spouses, your friends, diba? Like all of us are leaders in our own way in the different walks of our lives. And there, really what we want to be able to do is for leaders to demonstrate respect and actual interest in diverse perspectives para makakontribute tayo to better understanding, better communication, and more efficient problem solving. So fosters active listening to sort of like end it all is a way to foster positive, inclusive work cultures that encourages open dialogue and values different perspectives and opinions. So that's it. So in our last slide, I'll talk a little bit more about who I am. So if you like this talk, please go and you feel like your organization might benefit from what we try to offer. So I'm coming from Rogue Solutions Consultancy. So we're a team of psychologists and mental health professionals. And yung specialty namin is we specialize in crafting seminars and developing workshops and research even tailored to the unique needs of each organization. So ang gusto talaga namin is yung mga natutunan namin in the realm of therapy. Parang ganito yung active listening na we can actually bring it to actual workplaces. Because hindi lang naman sa therapy nangyayari ang mental health, nangyayari siya in the actual settings, in families, workplaces, institutions, churches, and maybe we need some of these skills in those places. So feel free. So pwedeng contact us at rogue.consultancy.gmail.com. And of course, Positive Workplaces does similar things as well. So thank you. So Gabby, come in for Q&A.
Yes, thank you so much, Mara. I hope you can read what's written in the chat box.
Sige, I shall.
Saying thank you and giving you a shout out that they found the session really helpful. And actually, ang dami na nating questions for Q&A.
Oh, okay.
You won't have to wait for questions to come in.
Okay, sige. I'll try my best.
Do you want to drink water first before
I have water right beside me, so
Okay.
game.
So for those of you who haven't plugged in your questions yet, you can simply go scan the link that you can see, go to pigeonhole.at and type in the code PW New Leaders. So kanina may mga phone in questions. During the session and I took note of them. So unahin natin siya.
All right.
Ang tanong niya, how do you deal with generation gaps when it becomes a barrier to active listening? I think a lot of our listeners can relate
to that.
So yeah, if you have tips.
I would say na meron kayong infographic for that, right, Gabby, sa website nyo?
Yeah.
So, okay, so first, you may want to look at the infographic of Positive Workplaces. They talked about it a little bit and describe kung ano yung values ng each generation. But also, I think it really comes back to yung when we talked about yung how to sort of like overcome barriers. It's really about intentionally coming in the conversation and first, dapat aware ka na may preconceived notions ka. For example, na, oh, the millennials are ma-complain, for example. And I'm acknowledging it, the power of acknowledging and saying, I'll put that aside later on. So for now, wala mo ng preconceived notions, gusto ko lang marinig kung anong sinasabi niya. And then let's take it from there, right?
Yeah, actually, it falls under the barrier of bias, di ba? Parang meron preconceived notion na entitled tong mga to.
Annoying. Iba lang yung values nila. So, intindihin natin.
Ayan. So, next question. How do you practice active listening when dealing with toxic people? I think hindi to nawawala even in the workplace. So, it's able to positively influence them by actively listening.
That's a very challenging question. And I tell this to clients all the time na, you know, you can only do your part. So at most, you could sort of like consciously model the behavior that you're trying to achieve or the one that you want to receive as well. So you sort of like model all of these things. So sometimes you don't have to say it explicitly. Na, ang toxic mo, ayoko kita kausap, or can you do this better? Sometimes the best way to do it is to model. So they're trying to attack you. You're not gonna parang engage in the attack. And you try to look for ano ba yung parang point nung bakit siya galit. And I'll reflect that back to you. Pero again, that has limits kasi we can only control what we can do. So if the person remains to be toxic, they have their own issues that they can't really deal with at that moment, then we simply have to just put it aside first and maybe try to address it at a different level. Maybe there's people, leaders, for example, who have more influence in that situation as well.
Yes, so thanks, Mara. I hope that helped who asked. Actually, sa isang tao lang galing yung dalawang question na yun. So I hope those helped
Oo
you.
nga, mahirap talaga kasi
Yeah. Go ahead.
hindi mo na makokontrol yung person. Ano pa?
Yes, I think meron tayo, since we have people from the helping profession joining us, how do you actively listen if you are experiencing compassion fatigue? Bakit may
Thank you for that question. Pero I want to validate lang na mahirap, nakakapagod, but also at the same time, as much as I want to say na ito yung tips, I want to acknowledge na this is a systemic issue as well, 'di ba? Na we also have to be able to question kung bakit nakakaramdam tayo ng compassion fatigue? Na-overwork ba tayo? Are we burnt out? Is that a problem from a more systemic place? But on a personal note, the best that we could do is to really be protective. So parang counseling na to. Be protective of your personal boundaries as well. Parang sometimes to be able to say no or to be able to say na, wait lang, can we talk about this tomorrow? Kasi I don't have the mental or emotional capacity for it. Even if it feels like I'm rejecting, you're actually being more helpful because you're putting it during a time na kaya mo siyang i-process. So I guess this one is personally really reflecting on your boundaries and trying to build those internal boundaries as well. Maybe that's a different talk, Gabi.
Yeah.
Boundaries, diba?
Actually, because ako, share ko lang rin, one of the skills that we were taught in our practicum is yung limit setting. So like, we were asked to, ang hirap niyang sagutin ha, parang what are your limits? So I think that's also one of the reflective questions you can answer after this talk. And tama, ibang ano siya, ibang webinar na siya.
Parang step-by-step process din yung how to build boundaries, diba?
Yes. Ayan, I think we have a question here in the chat box. I'll read it to you, so anonymously. So I've been managing teams for a while now, and I've always found it tough to really listen actively. It was a bit of a mystery why until I got diagnosed with ADHD, specifically the attention kind. It's kind of eye-opening, especially here in the Philippines, where it's not that easy to get mental health support. But now that I understand what's going on with me, I'm getting better at listening to my team. It's more of a chat than a question, but I'd love to hear what you think about all this.
Yes. Thank you for being so
Yes.
open about it. So
Mhm.
that's true naman na I guess, diba, again, this falls on the self-awareness part na if you did not go on that parang personal parang journey to sort of like understand kung bakit, diba, parang you could have just left it at that. Na I don't pay attention, tapos. But this person went through a whole parang process to find out bakit mahirap for me to. And again, that's why as leaders, very important na may ganong stage of self-awareness. Kasi now na na-identify niya na, then they can actively parang create strategies na how can I be in the present when I'm listening to people. So again, yun nga, barrier and the way to overcome is self-awareness. So thank you for that sharing.
Yes, thank you. I think this is related to our boundary setting. It's more of, what do you do after?
Oh my gosh.
How do you yourself, di ba? Na leaders need to listen to sensitive or heavy information from colleagues. How can we effectively shake off heavy emotions that may linger after difficult conversation?
Oh my gosh, that's so true. That's so true, right? That's why I was saying parang very important for leaders to go through that processing as well kasi dadalhin nyo nga yung mga weight na dinadala rin ng mga people under you. So I guess tama si Gabby na related to dun sa personal boundaries. It's really working with yourself and telling yourself parang you have to be explicit na realistically, we can't enter naman yung buhay ng mga tao and take them out of the problem. So you have to sort of like set expectations with yourself na hanggang ano ba talaga yung kaya kong ibigay in terms of helping. And then after that, I have to sort of like let them, unfortunately, let it go, na parang they really have to go through their own lives pa rin, despite the fact na alam mo tong mga issues na to. Sometimes, like, this is like a trick with some counselors, kasi di ba counselors or therapists, you do, or maybe social workers even, and teachers, na you are, that's the job. You listen to a lot of these things talaga. So they have these things na parang it's like you have like a ritual or like a symbolic way to sort of signal turning off. So it's as simple as, for example, one friend would do is meron siyang rock na at the start of the session, or stone, hahawakan niya to signify na this is the start of the day. And then after going through all the listening to all people's problem and carrying it in your heart, bago siya umalis dun sa office, iiwan niya dun sa doorstep, and yun yung symbol na iiwanan ko yun dito. So parang have those internal boundaries na, or even if you need something concrete to hold on to, na iiwanan ko to dito, so that you can enjoy life pa din outside.
That's actually good, no? Parang may ritual ka na, okay, this stays here. Bukas ko na ng umaga ito babalikan.
Iiwanan ko siya.
Yeah. Mara, I'm curious. Ako, I can give an example kasi it's also what we practice in positive workplaces. But do you have examples of successful leaders who have demonstrated the positive effects of active listening so that it contributes to their leadership?
Ikaw muna, anong binato ba ka? Anong example mo? I mean, I could think of like personal people kasi that I've encountered in my life. Like I was talking about, like, yeah, yung mga parang naging professors ko in counseling. Syempre, shout out ko yung aking advisor, si Doc Mira of Reneo sa Ateneo. She really makes me, when we're doing research and all of these things, she really makes me feel like no idea is stupid. No idea is like, alam mo yun, dumb. So for me, even if she's like all the way up here for personally, she's Dr. Mira of Reneo, and she's like this big person for me, even hindi siya kilala ng ibang tao, hindi ako na-threaten. Hindi ko na-feel na kailangan kong pag in-approach ko siya, dapat perfect na yung idea ko. So, nagkakaroon ng productive parang results talaga. Pero meron ka bang parang mas famous, generally famous example?
Parang wala rin akong famous example, pero it's more a testament na we're applying this. So, Nikki, your friend, who's the Chief Wellbeing Officer in Positive Workplaces. So whatever we teach, we make sure na we also do inside the organization para we make sure that we walk the talk. And Nikki really actively listens. Natutuwa kami in our ICs. Dahil, ilimbawa, performance review lang recently, parang she really knows or she senses what you're feeling during the moment. And then she clarifies. And siya mismo yung nagbibigay ng impact. Like, di ba, bihira yung may impact yung sinasabi ng tao. Pero whenever she speaks with us, there's behavior. May kasi impact ng behavior na yon. So that we really know that she's listening and she knows us as her employees. So ayun. Hindi fluff yung tinuturo namin dito. In one way or another, we have
concrete.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe we can answer 2 more, just being mindful of the time. Is there any question that's coming out to you that you want to...
Wait, let me... how do you... Ano yan? Meron siya about verbal villains. Wait, up. How to respond when people, if ina-applyan ka ng verbal villains.
Yeah.
You know what? It takes a lot of emotional regulation, diba? Parang even as simple as like when you're talking to relatives, honestly, it takes a lot of emotional regulation to sort of like not take it personally and remind yourself na sometimes we don't know where people are coming from. So I can just sort of like acknowledge na, okay, that's your statement. I don't have to listen to it. Parang I don't have to personalize it, or I don't have to use it as a way to sort of like make sense of my situation. Sometimes that's it. Parang ano lang, okay, that's your opinion.
Yes. Pero it's a skill, ha? Like, you have to practice it intentionally to be able to...
Na hindi ako patol. Ganon.
Yeah, and I'm sure a lot of people can relate here as well.
Yeah.
So maybe we can do one more. since it's already 4:25.
Ano ba?
I'll forward the questions to you if ever you wanna
Oh,
answer.
sige. I don't know. Pili ka, Gabi.
Or do you want to give your last, parang what's your final message? Like after knowing where our participants are coming from, what questions they have raised, as well as kung ano man yung mga lumabas dun sa mga interactions natin during the session. What message do you want to
I
leave?
guess yung mga nangigibabaw here based on the questions is sometimes the problem is not you being able to actively listen, but the people around you are not able to. Kasi ang daming questions like, what about toxic? What about colleagues? What about bosses na not receptive? What about like all of these other things, right? So, yun nga, I guess first and foremost, the best thing we could do is to mirror what we want. And then if that doesn't work, the second step would be to be able to, I guess, communicate that effectively. Pero kung naging unsafe yun, then that might be a systemic issue. And a lot of these things, baka hindi natin ma-change ang unreceptive boss. We can either learn to, as bad as it sounds, na parang, okay, that's how the boss is. If I want to stay in this workplace or if currently wala akong choice, then that's not my fault. So I'm not gonna take this personally and just do my job. Or I can sort of see if there's like better suited spaces for me na mas nakaka-cultivate ng positivity and all of these things kasi it's a systemic issue. So maybe to answer those mga yung cluster of questions na yun. And I guess in general, parang to everyone else, again, this is just a 1 hour talk. And in reality, this takes a lot of practice. Sometimes ang hirap pa i-practice kasi dun pa lang sa, meron akong emotional blocks, for example, nandun na, diba? Parang it's already preventing us from moving forward. So ang hope ko lang is like, it opens up that parang curiosity about yourself first, before like moving on to how do we sort of apply this to other people as well.
Yes, it's really ourselves that ito yung ultimate tool that we can use, diba? We practice ourselves, mirror it to other people, and hope that they also resonate so that they can also apply it to themselves. Thank you so much, Mara, for that very insightful talk. I think grabe yung pag-kick off natin because we hit 1,000. I'm not sure if you saw, pero we hit 1,000.
Wow.
And we maintained it hanggang ngayon. We maintained the 1,000 learners that we have in the room. And we'd really love to thank you by presenting to you the certificate of appreciation. I'm
Yay!
sure
Thank you.
this is like so much. You can also read the comments.
Yeah, I mean, I want to, yun nga, thank you everyone who commented. I feel appreciated very much. And may mga questions and I feel like may mga nag-PM din na hindi ko masagot. So, I guess we did like send out an email. I hope na screenshot nyo. Maybe if there's really concerns, go ahead and just forward it to me.
Yes. Actually, do you have a Facebook page that they can...
Wala pa.
Wala
We're
pa.
just,
Okay.
we're baby company. So start lang natin yung email.
So, I'll flash the email again para everyone can take a screenshot. Ayan. So if you want to get Mara and JR, kung sino man yung naka-attend nung last one as you. So they are under Rogue Solutions Consultancy. You can reach them at rogue.consultancy@gmail.com.
Yeah. Salamat. Thank you rin, Gabby. And thank you to everyone. Happy New Year.
Yes, thank you so much, Mara. And I think we can now go to the most awaited part. Please do follow us on Facebook. So all of our announcements and our future webinars will be announced there. And we are now presenting to you the QR code for the evaluation form. So for those of you who are already familiar, you just know that you're going to open your camera, scan the QR code on the screen, or you can even just click on the link that we are sending in the chat box so that you will be able to access our evaluation form. Please do let us know how you found the session. Let us know your insights and if ever there are other topics you would like for us to cover in the coming months. And then once you submitted it, please, yung email address nyo po and yung name nyo, whatever you type in, that's what you will receive afterwards because generating certificates are already automated. See you again next week. We have our Chief People and Possibilities Officer, Kevin Nera, who will lead our psychological safety session. And thank you so much,
Bye-bye.
Mara, and thank you so much, everyone.
Yes, I'll step out now. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you. For those of you who are answering our evaluation form, please be patient. I think we're going to extend this afternoon, extend the opening of our certificate. We usually close it within 30 minutes, but seeing that we are 1,000 in the Zoom room and maybe more for some of you attending with your own groups. So just please be patient. Mag-refresh lang kayo if ever you can't access the form agad-agad. Okay? So if you have any questions, send us an email at engage@positiveworkplaces.org and we will try to get back